Sheriff Todd Baxter. My name is Chris Chichester. I've never committed a crime. How did you allow 19-year-old Aliyah Burden to escape from your custody at Strong Memorial Hospital? And what are the names of the employees at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office that allowed her to escape? And your answer is you will refuse to answer. What are the facts and circumstances whereupon this 19-year-old, who 2 years before was in high school, escaped from Strong, and she's pregnant? How did it happen? She escaped to a parking garage. And then there was a brief struggle, according to the stories that I've read, including this one. Does a brief struggle mean violence? Was there violence between your employees and Aliyah Burden? What are the facts and circumstances if, in fact, there was violence? 19-year-old pregnant woman can only perform a certain amount of resistance. Brief struggle. What was the brief struggle? Answer that question. You'll have to answer this. When I contact the United States Department of Justice, the Office of Andrew Cuomo, any regulatory authority over you at your jail, which I believe is the Department of Correctional Services in Albany. So, pregnant inmate back in custody after escape at Strong Memorial Hospital. A pregnant inmate who escaped from Monroe County Sheriff's deputy in Strong Memorial Hospital back in custody. Deputy. Is it one deputy or two? Is that accurate? Because there were multiple individuals in the photograph we're going to show. 3-hour chase began with 19-year-old Rochester resident Aliyah Burden escaping, quote, soft restraint, end quote, the Strong Memorial returning board on Monday. What does that mean, soft restraint? This is your pathetic public relations talking points here. Soft restraint. If you're asked to define soft restraint, what is it? She was taken back to custody right outside the hospital parking garage after Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter, as a member of the University of Rochester Public Safety Deputy, spotted her. Your employees at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office let her escape, and then an employee at the University of Rochester is the one responsible for bringing 19-year-old Aliyah Burden back into your custody. I've been on that campus. I ran a 5K there. It's a wide open campus. And that's why she was apprehended, because it was easy to spot her, but it took 3 hours. So where was she for that 3-hour period? Was she in the parking garage the whole time? Did you interview her afterwards and ask her to explain her whereabouts? Short foot chase took place before she was finally stopped after a brief struggle outside. A brief struggle. What happened? If you're asked by an employee at the United States Department of Justice or the Office of Andrew Cuomo or DOCS in Albany, what does a brief struggle mean? What happened? Tell us what happened. Burden, who was 8 months pregnant, now is back in Strong Hospital under a hand scar for medical evaluation. Sheriff's Office says she will face new charges because of her escape. Is that right? Because you allowed her to escape. She was brought to Strong after complaining of stomach pain. And here she is right here. There she is. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4 employees here. I mean, here she is in a gown. That's not shorts and a t-shirt or jeans or a sweater. It's in April. How do you allow that to happen? There it is right there. How does this possibly happen? What was the disciplinary process for your employees involved? Because in the attached YouTube Freedom of Information Law, the internal disciplinary records documentation of employees of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Todd Baxter, has reprimanded, terminated, disciplined employment at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. Did you reprimand, terminate, or discipline any of the individuals in this photograph, if in fact these individuals in this photograph were the ones responsible for her escaping, because they may have just responded to her escape? Are the individuals at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office in this photograph the ones that had her in custody and then didn't have her in custody because she escaped to this parking garage? Burden had been arrested Sunday in Penfield, charged with shoplifting as well as probation violations. About 80 Rochester police troopers, deputies, and security took place in a search. You were responsible for the activation of the 80 Rochester police troopers and deputies and security because of her. That's because of you. Taxpayer dollars had to be spent in the deployment of these 80 law enforcement individuals because of your disgusting, pathetic incompetence. As the hours went on, law enforcement said it got more important that they track her down. Oh, you think? Quote, she struggled yesterday, says Baxter. You struggled. You struggled because you allowed her to escape. And when you're talking about this, you're talking about her. There's no accountability for you. And this is going to be yet again your manufacturing of excuses in your language because you live in a delusional criminal 1984. This is your 1984 quote right here. She struggled yesterday when we apprehended us. She led us on a little chase. 3 hours is not a little chase. That's a lie. It's not even an exaggeration. Little chase. Do you understand the precision of language when you say little chase, that's a lie? Because 3 hours is not a little chase. 5 minutes, 15 minutes perhaps is a little chase. 3 hours is not a little chase, you bald-headed, party-switching, criminal, corrupt Sheriff Todd Baxter. You know that idea that she's 19 years old. What the hell does that mean? Your total incoherence. When I read this story in the Democrat and Chronicle, I have a passion for jails. Which jail are you having sex with today? One quote after another is your total incoherence. And again, incoherence from you right here. She led us on a little chase. You know that idea that she's 19 years old? What the hell does that mean? Because I don't know that idea. I was 19 once. I wasn't thinking, do I know the idea that I'm 19 years old? You know that idea that she's 19 years old, she's pregnant, she's not making the right decisions, obviously. You're not making the right decisions, obviously, because you let her escape. The process of figuring out what wrong has begun. The process of figuring out what went wrong has begun. So what happened? And what happened is, what are the names? What was the discipline? What are the facts and circumstances? And you refuse to answer all those questions because there's no accountability for you. When you screw up in the most spectacular way possible, and this is a spectacular screw-up. Sheriff Baxter says his office is starting an investigation into how the suspect managed to escape. That's a lie. There was no investigation. And I'm going to prove it. When I send the Freedom of Information Law documents, I'm going to demand how that investigation was conducted, the names of the individuals in the investigation, and what the investigation concluded, because there was no investigation. Because you are at your heart and soul a liar. And so you're going to lie about this. And when I demand how the investigation was conducted and what the results were from the investigation, there's going to be nothing from you. And that's going to be the confirmation that you lied about this. So, now, after she escaped, there's the story. Pregnant inmate escapes. And then Sheriff Jail Superintendent discipline after strong hospital escape. This is June 4th. This is 5 weeks later. The Monroe County Sheriff and Jail Superintendent are being disciplined after an internal investigation regarding inmate custody back in April. This is general language, and this is a television story. It's not exactly winning any Pulitzer Prizes for detail, but it is reporting the facts. And the facts is that you say that you discipline yourself. What a joke. You didn't do any discipline yourself. Did you spank yourself, Todd? Huh? Internal investigation. Leah Burden was an inmate in Monroe County Jail on April 30th when she was taken to Strong Memorial Hospital for an appointment. She was 7 months pregnant at the time. During her appointment, Burden allegedly caused a distraction, escaped custody. She was eventually found a few hours later in the parking garage and taken into custody. Goes on to talk about the charges. After the internal affairs investigation, all supervisors with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office were required to take leadership training. Is that right? What a joke. What is leadership training? Is that a Daniel Bankrupt talking points? The answer is yes. Other changes as a result of the investigation will include more training on hospital details, restraints, and radio procedures. The organization will also see new equipment and technology updates, including GPS tracking technology and more reinforcement of hospitals. Updates and charges to various departmental policies will be brought in, including the general order on hospital security procedures. Talks about risk assessments. I skip ahead. Spokesman for the Sheriff's Office said they could not comment on the jail superintendent's discipline as a personnel matter. This again, where there's no accountability for you. Was that you, Michael Rather? Are you the sheriff's spokesman who said you could not comment on the jail superintendent's discipline? Because there was no discipline. That's why you couldn't comment on it. This is going to be your disgusting distraction. This is going to be your Machiavellian way of thinking. This is the Machiavellian bald head of Todd Baxter when you have this disgusting incompetence where you allowed a 19-year-old pregnant woman to escape, and then there's the distraction. This is why you're a Machiavellian operator, and you think like a Machiavellian. Quote, however, Sheriff Baxter said he imposed self-imposed discipline and donated the equivalent of a day's wage to the family of a fallen deputy. Elected officials cannot suspend themselves. So, according to the story that you said, you donated the equivalent of a day's wage to the family of a fallen deputy. Was that a personal check? It's a personal check. Then I cannot use the Freedom of Information law to demand it because that's your personal money. But since this is a story and this is your monumental screw up, send me the personal check. If you're using this as your nauseating distraction. This is your 1984 PR at work, where you want to associate with a Monroe County Sheriff Office employee or law enforcement official was killed in the line of duty, and you're going to donate to that person in a story about your monumental screw up. So is it a personal check from you? If it's not, I don't believe that I can demand that. Matter of fact, I'm confident that I can demand that. I can't demand your personal check, but if you donated, according to donate the equivalent of a day's wage to the family, did you write on your checks that you have at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office a government-issued check, like this check I got right here when I was attacked by your whack jobs? It says County Monroe Office of Sheriff. Is this money here that you donated, that you say you donated, the equivalent of a day's wage to the family? Is it a check just like this one? County Monroe Office of Sheriff. This is the check I was given. My head slammed against the concrete pavement outside of Wegmans when your psychopath attacked me. I was taken in front of Parliament, declared guilty, and then I'm off to Livingston County Jail. So this is County Monroe Office of Sheriff. Is there an Office of the Sheriff check where you donated money to the family of a fallen deputy? I'm going to write a Freedom of Information law for that. What's life going to be like for you if there is no check? And that's a lie. And how much was it? If in fact there is a check. So, have you figured out what I'm doing to you? Criminal, corrupt, Sheriff Todd Baxter? I'm doing everything possible to remove you from office.